Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of 15 Minutes With. I'm super excited today. We've got Michelle Merritt with us. Michelle, gosh, I was trying to think how long we've known each other, and I think it was back when you were at Three Rivers is when we first met.
Right.
And
I bet it's been 12, 15 years.
it has to be,
Yeah.
So, but we're super excited to have Michelle here today because she's going to talk to us a little bit about LinkedIn and recommendations and skills and Michelle, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do so everybody will kind of know the context.
Sure. So I have a background in recruiting, corporate culture, and community engagement. And 8 years ago, I turned that into a company with my partner, Jason, who you interviewed last week,
Yep.
that is focused on building resumes and helping people interview for jobs, create a search strategy, all the things that you do a great job with for your students, we tend to do for more tenured professionals.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have some alums that'll come back, but I don't think they think of us first. So anyway.
And we often send alums back to you to say, check out career services first.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys can understand now why we want Michelle to talk to us a little bit today, because she does help people do this for a living. And so we want to get her advice on LinkedIn, the recommendations, how all that works. Michelle, I have students all the time who say to me, oh, I don't really need recommendations, or they're afraid to ask for recommendations. What's your thoughts on this? What's your advice? What do you suggest to your folks?
So full disclosure, I have about 36 recommendations out of my LinkedIn profile. So right off the bat, you should know that I'm a huge proponent of this. I think for us, and I think anytime we are working with a client, we want them to gain those recommendations because it really acts as a reference for you even before a hiring manager or a recruiter might be reaching out to you. It validates your experience, especially if it's someone notable. If you've had an internship with someone, you have been employed by someone, and it may not have to be someone directly from your field. You might be pursuing criminal justice at Indiana Tech and have worked at McDonald's to work your way through college. That's great. And your supervisor can certainly speak to who you are as an employee and why someone else would want to work with you. And I think it just gives that extra validation. It also helps your SEO on the platform. So anytime that your referrals or your recommendations contain those keywords about leadership, about management, all of those soft skill type things are often represented in the recommendation. And those will be keywords that help a recruiter or a hiring manager find that information.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Keywords. That is something my students are familiar with because we're constantly talking about keywords on the resumes and stuff, but that's a great point about having those keywords in your recommendations as well. Now, you know, there's recommendations, but also too, I can endorse people and people can talk about my skills. How are those different?
Sure. So LinkedIn allows you the opportunity currently to list your skills. And sometimes it may actually pull keywords from the profile itself and say, hey, do you want to include these skills? These could be anything from those soft skills that I know you work every day with students on, to the technical skills that may be applicable to your specific profession or vertical. So there's a great opportunity there to really put those keywords, and I think you can have 40 some in there. So make sure that they're ones that apply and that are real. You know, don't claim something that you don't possess, of course. But, you know, in the same token, this is a great opportunity to get more of those keywords out there. And I think that then people can endorse you because anyone can endorse you for anything. I don't know that hiring managers really put a lot of emphasis or take much stock in how many people have endorsed you for a specific skill. But it is vital that those are out there and that they're correct, because it is one more opportunity for you to show up in someone's search.
Great point. So should you look at those strategically? Should you maybe pick out the ones you think are going to be most important to a hiring manager and make sure those are out there and should you be seeking people to endorse you? I mean,
again, I don't think it hurts to do that. I don't know how much hiring managers really put into how many people have endorsed, but I think having the right words out there, and I know you're working with students every day to talk about what the keywords are for their industry, scanning job descriptions. What are the common traits? What are the common words that you're seeing pop up in each of them? And, make sure that those words are out there, because I really see skills as more of a way to up your chances of being included in someone's search.
Cool. What other recommendations do you have for our students about recommendations or any of this? They're nervous to ask people. Yeah. What advice would you give them?
So I think you should only be asking people that you have worked with, right? So when you're asking, or people who have experience with you, and you can say, I'm looking to build my presence on LinkedIn, and I am beginning my career. I'm beginning my search for my first professional position. Would you consider writing a recommendation for me? Some people aren't comfortable doing it, and so don't take it personally if someone doesn't respond or says no thank you. But in the same token, don't be afraid to ask. Just the same as you wouldn't be afraid to apply for multiple positions, it's okay to ask for multiple recommendations. And then also consider giving as much as you receive. So if you have worked with, let's say you've been a student employee in the IT department, one of your departments that's close to my heart, certainly. And, let's say you were a student worker over in IT, being able to give a recommendation to the person you worked for, or someone on the Indiana tech team that has helped you along the way, can really go far to help improve that person's visibility too. They might not be looking for a new job, but it does showcase who they are as a professional. The other bonus to that is that your name now shows up on their profile. So now it's one more place that your name has shown up in search results.
That's a great point. Yeah, sometimes students are afraid to ask, but it's like, if you did an internship with someone, for goodness sakes, if they gave you a good review at the end, absolutely ask for those recommendations. What's your thoughts on faculty and having faculty provide recommendations?
I think if it's allowed by the university, I think it's a great thing to do. You have the ability to approve or choose not to approve the recommendation prior to the recommendation going up, right? So just because you ask someone for a recommendation, if you don't like what they've written, or you don't feel like it showcases you in the light that you want to be showcased, then, you have the ability to decline it. I'm not 100% certain on this, but I don't believe it tells the person that, but it will, again, allow you to just say, no, thank you. So you don't have to use it. But the other thing I would say too, is that I work pretty actively to have 1 or 2 recommendations a year from people I've worked with. So as you move forward in your career, keep these up to date. You'll see recommendations on my profile from quite a while ago, but you'll also see some from late 2019. And of course, I'm being strategic about who I ask moving forward in 2020.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't really looked at mine in a while. I probably need to go and check mine out and see if I need to, ask some folks for some suggestions.
And I think we've exchanged recommendations, but if not, make sure to ask me.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think sometimes we work with people and we enjoy working with them, and but you don't think to say, hey, would you write a recommendation for me?
Right.
I think you're kind of just working with the person and you enjoy it, and so you don't necessarily think about it. Who are some other, well, let me ask you this though. Now, I think one of the things that kind of throws me off sometimes is that students that I don't know will contact me and ask me for a reference because they think me giving them a reference is a good thing. What did you want to say to students about that?
Sure. Don't ask anyone you don't know, right? This is personal. So this is the best references, the best recommendations are going to come from people that know you, people who have worked for you, worked with you, worked for you. And that's the other thing I'll say when we're talking about just recommendations in general. When we speak to more career professionals as they progress further in their career, there are 3 areas, and these are probably similar to what you advise, that we encourage people to have references in. People who you've worked for, people you've reported to, 1 or 2 of those, people who have been a peer to you, 1 or 2 of those, and if people have reported to you, 1 or 2 of those. That gives you more of a well-rounded picture of who you are as a leader, and that showcases your talents at from a variety of viewpoints to the hiring manager or recruiter. So that's something to consider, because I know many of your student workers, as they progress in their college career, have people reporting to them.
Absolutely.
And these could be people that you worked with on a project too. It doesn't have to be someone that you've worked in a paid capacity with. It could be maybe you're volunteering for Habitat for Humanity, and you've led a crew of people. Maybe you led the student project at Habitat for Humanity or something like that. Or you've been on a sports team with, and you were a team captain. So, and you don't have to be the team captain, even an active player, in that who you are on the field often dictates who you'll be in your career. They're very similar in many ways.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Totally agree with the peer part too. I think that's something that our students don't think about, and another intern that they interned with during this summer, providing a reference. It gives the employer the sense of who you are and that type of thing. So I think you're absolutely on target there. Yeah, we do usually, for students, throw in a faculty member. We usually say, not your aunt.
Right. Right.
I mean, it's like my aunt, I mean, I guess in some instances, some employers may be looking for character references, and that can be important. A mutual friend of ours, Chris Rachel's, provided character references for all my kids when they started working. But I think that was a little bit different situation than it is here. Though then again, depending upon the field, I guess maybe they might require a character reference. Anybody else you can think of?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I also think that be careful with character references, as you're saying, because I think it's perfectly okay to have a family friend, like our mutual friend, do that, because especially if they've seen the person outside of their family, they've seen the person, maybe that person has babysat for them, maybe that person has watched that person grow and volunteer, things like that. I've certainly served as that reference from time to time. And think about where you volunteer. I think that's an area that often gets missed, is, who do you volunteer with? That can be peers. That could also be the executive director of an organization. Perhaps you're involved in YL&I and you're becoming active in YL&I. Your fellow board members, as you gain positions within YL&I, could be great references and write great recommendations for your LinkedIn profile. And, YL&I is a very professionally focused organization for young people in Northeast Indiana. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of the very first places I became connected in Fort Wayne when I moved there in 2008. So I can trace many of my connections in the community back to Amy Johnson Shirley and Heather Shagler, the first 2 people I met through YL&I. So I look back on that day having pizza at Pint and Slice and can probably, and I'm in no way exaggerating, I could probably connect 1,000 of my connections back to that first conversation. So, consider that as you're moving forward, who you volunteer with and share a passion with, that you work side by side with.
Great advice. And just FYI, we're going to be doing a session on young professional groups and why students should join after graduation. So thanks for that great segue.
Of course. And if you're going to do that, I should give a shout out to Active 2030 too, because that's, yes. I shouldn't just limit my attention to YL&I, because Active 2030 was a vital part of my young professional life in Fort Wayne as well.
Yeah. And there's some good groups in Indy too, aren't there?
There are. Unfortunately, now I'm no longer eligible for those professional groups. I haven't been for a while, but it was great for my time in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, we have a list of all the young professional organizations throughout the state that we'll be sharing with students and
Awesome.
hopefully talking to some folks from different groups, not just here in Fort Wayne. Since we
Mhm.
have students, a lot of students in Indy. So,
That's right.
yep. So, well, thank you so much for being on with us
Of
today.
course. Of
Yeah.
course. Happy. I was grateful you called. So
Oh, yeah. Well, anything else you want to say about your company before we leave? I want to give
yeah,
you the opportunity.
I think, check out our blog, we started a podcast last week, Reinventing Relevance. So you can find that on our website, merrifield.com. We put out tips and tricks and advice very similar to what you do, Cindy. I mean, I don't know that anything is earth-shattering and over the top compared to all the great stuff you share with your students, but certainly it's another piece of advice, then another layer too. So check out the blog, all of those things. And just keep using your career services department. I can't say that enough. I must say this 100 times a week, to people, especially recent graduates. Go back to your career services team first, because we're not inexpensive, and you guys are a great resource to alumni as well as students.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
Make sure to check her out and connect with you on LinkedIn, maybe.
Please do. Absolutely.
Great, because then I know you share a lot of your information there on LinkedIn as
We
well.
do. We record videos every week and put a lot
Yep.
of content out. So don't hesitate to reach out there and connect.
Great. Well, once again, thank you so much, Michelle. We really appreciate you being here. This recording is going to go up on our YouTube channel. So if you were unable to be with us today, never fear. And the YouTube channel is getting a lot of hits these days.
Good.
Yeah, so check it out. Great.
You guys are doing great work.
Michelle.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Stay safe.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.